making sure that we know what we need to do in certain situations, making sure that we're coming out hard and strong, and yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to throw it to our play-by-play and color guys, Brian Cameron and Sean Ward. Take it away.
Should I leave my mic on?
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the 2019 Winnipeg High School Team Handball Championships that we start tonight from Red River College. My name is Brian Cameron, and I'm here with Sean Ward, and we thank you for joining us. Looking forward to an exciting match between two teams tonight, Sean.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, it should be an exciting day. I've watched a few of these teams play as I officiate some of this league. There'll be a couple of tough matchups, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
So just a little history. Sean's joining us for the first time tonight and has been part of handball for quite some time. He even convened the high school league for a little while. He played referees, so he knows quite a bit about the league and will be able to offer a lot as we go through the games tonight. Our first game tonight is the Glenlawn Lions versus the Fort Richmond Centurions. The Fort Richmond girls finished overall in the league, first overall in the league with a record of 9-0-0. While Glenlawn finished with a record of 8-0-1, so didn't lose a game, but managed to get one tie out of it.
That's very true. So we do have two officials from our Manitoba Team Handball Federation. We have Don Deely, which is down on one end, and then we have Craig Bremner, which is also another veteran goalie we have. Not goalie, official.
So we're about to get started here, and it looks like Fort Richmond will take the ball first.
So these are two very close teams. Fort Richmond girls finishing off with a perfect record so far, 9-0-0, with the Glenlawn girls only having one tie in the season with 8-0-1.
And when they did play each other earlier this year, they played on April 15th, and Fort Richmond did come out on top. Clearly they did because they have a perfect record, but close game, 17-13, so we're expecting a good match tonight. So here we go. As I said, Fort Richmond will take the ball first, and they will cycle the ball around, and it looks like Glenlawn is going to run a 5-1 defense right off the bat and try to take the number one scorer from Fort Richmond Collegiate out of the game as soon as possible, Quinn Thomas. But she will get the ball but push off her defender, and that will be a turnover. And Glenlawn Collegiate will get their first possession. And then, like Fort Richmond, they will start by cycling the ball around and see what they can make happen. And into
what a great shot. Great shot by Glenlawn.
For Glenlawn, number 4, Fallon Mitchell.
You know, she saw a big opening in the opening of the defense, and she got right in there. Big shot right away. Good start for Glenlawn.
So they will open up the score 1-0, and looking and coming right back for Fort Richmond Collegiate. Number 7, Kara Loudon. So that will make the score 1-1. And if that's going to be any indication today, Sean, we're going to have an exciting game.
You know, I think these teams match up very well, both very aggressive, both have a couple of big shooters on their team. So it'll be who can be consistent.
So number 2.
Wow, great move.
Up the second score for Glenlawn, number 2, and that would be Abby Dick, who in fact was the number 9 overall scorer for the league last year, or this year.
What I like there, she was really patient. She took a jab inside, saw the hole and went right through it, didn't hesitate, took it right away.
And right back to is again number 7, Kara Loudon, who has both goals so far for Fort Richmond Collegiate. And that will make the score 2-2. Going over top, but giving the ball back on the free throw. Attempting to score on the play was number 4, Fallon Mitchell again. And this time will score pretty much right off the free throw. So that will make the score 3-2 with just over 22 minutes left. And Glenlawn continues to match a man-on-man defender to number 22 Quinn Thomas to try to take that scoring threat out of the game. And in for the clean shot was number 11 from Fort Richmond, but stopped on the play. And Abby Judge had a nice clean shot, but stopped on the play by goalie Aya. And I'm going to apologize if I get this wrong, folks. LRSD.
Good patience on defense there by FRC. You know, they were watching, they were counting off their players.
Great stop again by LRSD. Pick up the middle. The ball from the middle is Jazzy Dinner, who will go down and score.
They're going to call a free throw back towards the 9-meter here. Guess the officials felt that this happened before the play got far enough into the crease. They'll give her back the ball.
So no goal, but number 2 goes up and off the fingertips of the defender, and just enough to catch the goalie standing. So that will make the score 4-2 for Vincent Massey with just under 21 minutes left in the first half. Good aggressiveness by number 24 from Glenlawn. And Quinn Thomas will go up and put the ball over top of the net, but they're going to call her on a push-off. I got no mic. So on that, Glenlawn just over 20 minutes left, up 4-2. We'll take the next offense, and pushing inside was Jazzy Dinner, and they're going to have, there comes our first warning of the game against Quinn Thomas. And I got to think from a strategy point of view that they're going to try to go at her a bit, Sean.
Possibly.
Try to take her out of the game.
You know, I'm okay with this yellow. As a defender, you know, you want to be tough and aggressive, but, you know, you need to watch out for Jazz Ditter there. She's also a big threat on offense.
Yeah. Good defensive stand there by Fort Richmond. Knocked the ball out of the hands of number 4 from Glenlawn. That is Fallon Mitchell. And just in the corner enough is Jazzy Ditter, but she will lose the handle on the ball. Thrown back in again and wide open, but stopped on the play by the goalie, Alyssa Piero.
Great stop. Great stop on as a goalie. You know, patience, took all the time there and outweighted her to shoot.
Looks like Jazzy might have lost a handle on the ball a little bit.
Possibly, that does happen. You know, they don't use the old school resin that we normally did years ago. I don't know if you remember, Brian.
Oh yes.
The old tree sap that we used to use almost.
Oh yeah. It wasn't too long till the ball was non-usable anymore.
Yes, very much. Now they end up using a sort of spray that's you know, a bit like hairspray. Sort of works in the same case or the same idea, but not quite to the same effect.
Okay, so Fort Richmond will circle the ball around, try to get things settled down. Again, Glenlawn continues to be a man-on-man with Quinn Thomas to try to take her out of the game, and ball kind of got stalled in the middle. But thrown over the head of the intended player right into the hands of number 11 for Fort Richmond. And that will be too long. And the referees give the ball back to Glenlawn. You got to keep the ball moving.
Yeah, for those watching at home, you really only have 3 seconds from the start of the ball. If you stop at any point, the officials are watching to see if you move the ball, dribble, pass to somebody else. You really have a short window.
And what a nice throw inside to number 13, Jazzy Ditter.
Oh, and we're calling a 2-minute penalty here as well.
And Quinn Thomas is going to get a 2-minute penalty against Fort Richmond and must be pretty frustrated. Good pass inside to Jazzy Ditter, who's moving around quite well.
Well, you know, Brian, Glenlawn was taking Quinn out right away, right off the stop. right off the start, actually. You know, they weren't giving her a whole lot, so she was really having to fight for every ball possession.
Okay. Oh, the ball just catches the outside, and the turnover goes. The ball goes back to Glenlawn again. And they are up 5-2 with just over 17 minutes left in the first half. Throw the ball inside, but taken on the play and defensively by number 18 from Fort Richmond. And sorry, I don't have number 18 on my list.
And neither do I.
So one thing we've seen, Fallon Mitchell has been quite aggressive the whole game today. She'll throw the ball over and up and right into the hands of the goalie, Alyssa Piero, easily taken, and Fort Richmond will take over the ball down 5-2. And controlling up the play, maybe trying to set something up, especially down one was Kara Loudon. And Fort Richmond will cycle the ball around and settle things down. And now we have passive play being indicated by the referees. Oh, and had to push something towards the net soon enough, and on that time, and threw an over top of the goalie on a shot by Kara Loudon.
But, you know, sometimes on passive play, you know, teams don't necessarily have to shoot right away. I think that's the big misconception that a lot do, and they panic and they shoot right away, where you actually have 6 full passes to make that passive play before they call it over.
So Glenlawn will cycle it around, and it looks like Fort Richmond is back up to full strength again. Quinn Thomas is out on the floor.
I believe they're calling a charge there. She kind of led in with her arm, pushed off a little bit, you know, indicating that you're getting advantage over the defender who is standing there, so they will turn that over.
So Fort Richmond cycles it around, maybe trying to get something out of it. I see that Quinn Thomas has moved onto the line, Sean.
And sometimes they'll do that with teams that...
And threw the ball, and this time, pardon me, folks, Ella Leggy.
I believe she took that
great
one
save,
in the
but
head.
she took one right in the head, and I think she might even hit the post.
They'll stop the play dead right there, just to make sure that she's okay.
And she's stumbling a little bit.
That was a hard hit. I hope she's okay. We don't want to see anybody get injured in these types of games.
So we have a timeout now, and it is one of the rare times. Handball is straight run time, except for injury timeouts, of course.
Injury timeouts, we do have a couple of timeouts that you can use throughout the game. You have 1 per half per team. And of course, any injury timeouts that a team may or may not need at the time. So as I was kind of saying before, it's good to see her on her feet, back to the bench. They'll take some precaution to make sure she's all right.
So now we'll see who goes in for her. I would not be surprised to see her back in the game and then again, though. Yeah, so in handball, as we talked about, you know, in timeouts or things, but it is run time. So, like in hockey, you know, players are coming in and out, switching and subbing while play is on, while the clock is running.
Yeah, substitutions are on the fly. There's a small substitution area, usually between the timekeeper's bench and the benches themselves, so players can then come on and off as they need be. You'll actually see a lot at some of the pro levels where they actually have players that play specifically offense and specifically defense.
Yeah, and we see that especially if you're ever watching the Olympic Championships or the World Championships, which I like to throw on when I know they're going on. You see that they do have that, and they will sub out for offense and for defense, and so it's a pretty continuous change. So that being said, I believe that in is Annalie Ortiz for Glenlawn. I'll check that later. In for goal. Meantime, Glenlawn will take the ball on offense. pushed off on the ball, so they will keep it, but looking inside into the corner for Jazzy Ditter, and if she had got the ball, she would have had a clean shot to the net.
And Fort Richmond's got to be a little bit careful not to overstep too far, cheat too much. You know, they do have to respect that person, but at the same time, don't get caught out of position.
Well, I think they're calling it a travel there. So Fort Richmond will take over. 14 minutes left in the first half, down 5-2. And through the hands of an intended player, number 7, Tara Loudon. And Glenlawn will take over, and they come back down, seeing if they can increase their lead. Sorry, folks, we're back. That makes it. Sorry, the goal makes it now 6-2 for Glenlawn with 13 minutes left in the first half, and Fort Richmond will try to get something going, but Glenlawn continues to try to take Quinn Thomas out of the game and play her man on man, and she will aggress. And they try to pick her off, and they go over top. Blocked shot as the quarterback tried to go over top of the shooter, but was blocked. And now Richmond will set up again, and boom. Quinn Thomas will be called on a charge.
That was great defense. Way to step in there. You know, that's tough at a high school level to stand in there and take that charge, even though it's going to be a little bit of abuse to your body.
Trying to throw it inside, looking for the pivot. Not there, though, blocked outside by Fort Richmond, so Glenlawn will set up again. Well, travel on the play. Nope, over the line. So turnover on the play, so Fort Richmond will take over. So it appears to be that Glenlawn is trying to cover the wings pretty closely, as well as Quinn Thomas, and that's really sort of slowing things down for Fort Richmond's offense. But on that note, Tara Loudon goes up and it goes across her body to score to the far side of the net and puts the score 6-3 with 11:38 left in the first half. We'll see if Glenlawn can answer. They will cycle the ball around. They look inside of the pivot, but it's blocked and taken out of play, so Fort Richmond will bring the ball down the floor. Tara Loudon will go, but off the net. I think she had a clean shot through there, Sean, but just hit the back of the net.
Yeah, it looked like a clean shot, even though sometimes they may look like a clean shot, but the defense can actually dictate where you're throwing the ball. So if they're talking with their goalies and they know which side to block, the goalie can actually take the other, and it can actually decrease the amount of net that a player can see.
Oh, that's going to be a travel.
I believe that's actually a push-off, it looked like from here. Looked like she had got that arm up, and that's happened a couple of times. You just got to be careful when you're going in, not to overextend yourself.
Now, I noticed that Aya Elaleji has moved down the bench, so maybe we'll see her back in the game soon.
Still lots of game left. Could see her in a little bit later. I know Glenlawn sure could use her. You know, she's been a top goaltender in a lot of games so far this season.
So that's 6-3 with just over 10 minutes left. So lots of handball. Inside to Jazzy Ditter, but great save. Oh, we got a 2-minute call against Quinn Thomas again.
And that could be the yellow card catching up with her a little bit. Where it may or may not have been a direct 2-minute suspension, but because she's already had that warning, she'll actually automatically get a 2-minute regardless of whether it should have been a warning or a 2-minute.
So on that note, Jazzy Ditter will get a penalty shot and scores to put Glenlawn up 7-3. So Fort Richmond will take into the next offense down a man for about another minute and a half. We'll cycle the ball around, try to set things up and get something going again. Going into the corner and not really able to get much on it, but up goes Tara Loudon, who tries to go to the far side of the net and not there this time. So goalie ball, and Glenlawn will come back on offense again. He'll cycle it around and tried to throw it inside, but not there, but off the foot of the Glenlawn player, so that will be a turnover, and Fort Richmond will take over. So they will cycle it around again, trying to get something set up and going, but still down a man for the next few seconds. Start moving towards the net soon.
When you're down a player, I like to see teams actually.
Play is being indicated. The shot tried to make, and Jazzy Ditter will grab the ball and run the floor. Not sure what I saw there, Sean.
Could have been a few things. Defender had gotten in there a little bit. Possibly it could have called a free throw going that way, but it looks like they may have called either a travel or a push off at that point. It is tough to tell for sure from that angle.
So Fort Richmond is back up to full strength again?
Yes.
And they tried to cycle things around, get something going, and into the corner. And Tara Loudon will go up, and this time we'll find the short side and bring Fort Richmond back to within 3. 7:25 left in the first half. Glenlawn sets up, gets it around. I see Quinn Thomas is back on the floor, and she's guarding Jazzy Ditter pretty closely also.
You can actually see all Fort Richmond actually covering their defenders pretty closely. You'll see out on the right side, defender playing up towards 10 or 11 meter line, and then you'll actually see the pivot being covered by one player following them all around the line, so everybody's matching up kind of man to man.
Oh! Clean shot by number 6 from Glenlawn, and that is Julia Kep. And just catches the inside of the post and out. And she will go up and try again, but this time right on the goal. And blocked on the play by goalie Alyssa Piero. So Fort Richmond will come back and try to bring themselves within 2. Quinn Thomas is playing on the line. It looks like Fort Richmond's actually going with a 4-2, Sean.
You know what, and you'll see that a lot when a player's taken out entirely to make use of...
Looking for something in the corner, and underneath and through the legs of goalie Aya Elalaji. And that will bring Fort Richmond within 2. That was a great shot.
Great shot. That wasn't a lot of angle, and you know, she just squeaked it just under her legs there. That looked great. Yeah, as I was saying, the players will often put the other player down there just to maximize their offensive play. So you can still have that person in there while you know, being able to pass around with all your defenders.
Yeah, and ball dropped on the play by the Glenlawn player and then picked up again and right back to him. So Glenlawn will turn around and bring it back down the floor again. Trying to get aggressive down the floor, but then has to pull it back out and set things up. Oh, an attempted shot on the play by number 2, Abby Dick. Quinn Thomas will stay out. This time she's not dropping onto the line, and there's a big gap there that the FRC pivot was pointing to for somebody to attack, and then the ball got tipped out, but good call. So Glenlawn comes back and tries to get themselves back to a 3-goal lead and goes inside, and penalty shot called on the play, and we have a warning on number 16 from Fort Richmond, and that is Morgan Ott. So in handball, even though you drew the penalty shot, and that would be drawn by number 24, Ala LLG, so it must be the sister of Aya. Anybody can take the shot, and so Jazzy didn't take the shot, but a great stop by Alyssa Piero. And Fort Richmond will take the ball down and try to get themselves back within one.
That was a huge stop, Brian. You know, hopefully Fort Richmond can utilize that, get back in this game.
So unfortunately, the turnover gives the ball back to Glenlawn, and Jazzy Ditter gets the ball and through the hands of the goalie. A nice shot by Jazzy Ditter. We'll put Glenlawn back up by 3 with 3:36 left in the first half. Fort Richmond will go back to the 4-2 again as Quinn Thomas drops onto the line. Tries to take the ball inside, but defended by Jazzy Ditter. Deflected and then stopped by goalie Alalaji. And I'll tell you, she is keeping them in the game, Sean.
And you know what? You can see the immediate impact she has on the team. As soon as she's back in, big saves, keeps her team right back in it, keeps them effective.
Glenlawn comes down the floor, and Fallon Mitchell tries to put something up, but it gets blocked. Just tipped enough that was an easy save for Alyssa Piero. So Richmond comes down and tries to bring themselves within 2. So they will cycle the ball around, and we'll continue with a 4-2. A little bit of a push as the ball tried to get to the offensive player, so that will be a turnover. Free throw. Tara Loudon is blocked. Great block by the Glenlawn defenders and picked up by Quinn Thomas. Thrown inside to the pivot, number 10. And she pushes off first, so that's a turnover, and Glenlawn will take over. And we got a timeout called by Glenlawn, I believe.
I believe so, yeah. It's their ball, so the coach would have called a timeout. A couple of big things that we've seen so far, Brian. Big defensive game, both sides. I think that's going to be key going down the line here is both teams are very aggressive. You'll see that FRC plays a very strong man-to-man, and the Glenlawn are actually playing a little bit of zone. You'll see them actually key in and group up together when that big shot comes from outside. So I'd like to see from FRC them drawing away some of their defenders to actually get more of those open shots from their big outside backs, because I think that's been very effective for them so far.
And I think the one thing that I have noticed is that the Fort Richmond defenders do tend to stay home a little more so than the Glenlawn's ones do, and force them to try to put the ball over top. We haven't seen a lot. Like, we did see that one goal at the start where they were able to draw and create a big gap, but we haven't seen a lot of that since.
No, and you know what? You'll see FRC is playing so aggressive right now that you'll actually see Jazz Ditter sneak in the line several times in behind all the defenders. So it's a simple pass over top or in behind. And if the defenders aren't paying attention, she'll get that easily, and that's an easy goal right in the center. Probably the best percentage shot that you're going to get. So that's dangerous that FRC's got to be really aware of.
So Glenlawn is up by 3 with just under 2 minutes left, Sean. What do you think the coach would be telling them right now, given that she called the timeout?
I think that Glenlawn's game plan and team play style has been quick, but to not force anything. They have to play smart ball, take possession. Right now it's their ball, so they want to maximize their use on the game. during gameplay, sorry. So I think right now you're going to be looking for your optimum shots. You're going to be passing around, use the clock to kind of finish out this half on top.
And I'm noticing now that Quinn Thomas is actually covering Jazzy Ditter quite closely, trying to take her out of the game. So using a little bit of Glenlawn strategy, or you know, the man on cover, just to take the big shooters out of the game.
Possibly. I think both teams recognize which particular players are a big threat, and both Jazzy and Quinn are big offensive players, but also very aggressive defensive players. So they're matching up some of their stronger players with each other just to make sure that they don't lose track of who's guarding who, and make sure that that person's not getting the jump on any particular person.
So under a minute left, just over 50 seconds left in the half. Glenlawn up by 3, and they will have the ball and probably try to run down most of this clock just before the half's over. Blocked on the play. Looking inside.
Oh, great move.
Nice move, but off the post. Just under 30 seconds left. And so great movement by Glenlawn through the hands of the goalie, but up and over top of the net. So Fort Richmond will get one last chance with just under 20 seconds left in the half to get one more goal and get within 2.
That was a phenomenal move by number 4, and Glenlawn right at the end, a hard jab inside. And you know, that makes the defenders overcompensate at sometimes by taking that inside away, which gives that person a jab the opposite direction. Well, just as time runs out here, they'll actually have a free throw.
They will still have time for the free throw because the ball can't, time can't go out with that. So we'll see how Fort Richmond handles this.
So if anyone's not familiar, this is actually where the time has expired, but you still have the free throw called. So they have the option of having one of their players stand right on the 9. They are unable to move more than 1 foot. You have to have 1 foot planted. The defenders actually have to stay along that 6-meter line, so they have to give a full 3 meters. And the offensive player is trying to find that itty-bitty hole.
And just over top of the net. So at the halftime, up by 3 goals is Glenlawn Lions over top of the Fort Richmond Centurions, 8-5. And I think when we first started this game, we sure expected a very high-scoring game because they scored at a number like 4 or 5 goals right off the bat, and then it's kind of slowed down. I think the defense has taken over, Sean.
And you know, I think that comes up to some great goaltending as well. Great goaltending, great defense. Even though the players are getting those shots that we normally see from these two teams, you know, they're doing really well in keeping those shots and scores to a minimum.
And also keeping in mind that we've had a couple of penalties from Fort Richmond, which of course is going to slow down their flow and take one of their key players out of the game for a good chunk of the first half, someone they really count on. And taking her out of the game has really helped, of course, Glenlawn to be up ahead, but they've also covered her fairly well, which slows down any kind of flow they might have on offense.
Yeah, and you'll have to see some other players step up in these cases where your main goal scorer is being taken out. That tends to open up some lots of other holes for the players to run in. Take some of those fake passes, drive into some of those holes, and the whole key of the game for, I think, Fort Richmond on offense is to draw those big holes, get the defenders over, and pass off to the next person so you see some of those running right through.
Can you try on your talkback? Okay, folks, so we're hoping to head down to get an interview from the Glenlawn coach pretty soon. In the meantime, if you're the Fort Richmond coach right now, Sean, what would you be telling your team?
If I'm Fort Richmond, there are a few key points that I would tell my team. Right now, keep taking those big outside shots. They've been very effective, especially from that center and that right back. to draw in those defenders and to have that person take those big shots when they see them. They also need to slow the game down. Their big game right now is slowing down Glenlaw. Their game is actually to speed it up and score a lot off of transition goals. And then lastly is keep up the strong defense. Watch that pivot coming in across the line. Watch that opposing wing departing in, running across the 6, and then just hands up and maybe take a step or two back. You know, nobody's really shot over top a ton on the Glenlaw side, so I think you can afford to stay back a little bit and close up those gaps.
As far as I can tell, too, that Quinn Thomas has not scored yet. They do need to get her back into the game. They need the contributions from Quinn Thomas, but also keeping in mind that they cannot lose her to another penalty or warning. I think she's going to be out of the game if that happens.
100%. You know, she can't stop being aggressive on defense, but it's when you're taking your battles, when you're pushing that defense, and when you're going a little bit further as opposed to just keeping her movement to a minimum.
The game is close. It's only 3 goals. So keeping that in mind, not taking a penalty or something that you don't need right now, because the fact is that you need her in the game.
Yes, they need to be very careful about putting arms in from behind, causing those extra penalty shots.
Okay, we're about to get the second half started. So with up by 3 goals, Glenlaw does get the ball to start the second half, because Fort Richmond did have it the first half. So maybe they can increase their lead to 4. We shall see. And they are going to a 4-2 right off the bat this time, Sean. Probably knowing that they're going to be trying to cover. And right off the bat, we get a goal from number 4, Fallon Mitchell, and that will give Glenlaw a 4-goal lead with just right inside, less than 30 seconds of her.
Sorry about that, Brian. Had a little bit of technical difficulties with my mic here.
No problem, we're back.
On.
So in the meantime, Fort Richmond goes down, and number 23 from Fort Richmond has a clean shot in, but isn't able to score, Ellie Basili. So that gives Glenlaw the ball, and they will turn around, but
I believe they called that a charge. You'll see when she caught the ball, she actually backed up right into the defender. Yeah, so pushed off a little bit.
So Fort Richmond will take over, and we'll cycle the ball around, and Tara Loud will take the ball inside and try to get and off the inside of the net. So that being said, we have our first warning against Glenlaw, number 6 from Glenlaw, and that would be Julius Kep gets Glenlaw's first warning of the game.
Oh, that was a big pass into Jazz Ditter. They've actually got Jazz Ditter in on pivot.
Yeah, they've had her going on pivot since the start of the game, and probably because Quinn Morris is covering her man-on-man.
I think Jazz Ditter is using her body well to block out Quinn on that spot. So as the ball rolls around to the other side, she's wide open.
We know, coming from a good handball background with her mom being Quinn Thomas getting one of her first clean shots of the game, but unfortunately her foot was over the line.
Not too bad. That was a great drive. She went right into the hole between the defenders. Just too bad she didn't get it off cleanly, really.
Yeah, and just to finish my thought about Jazzy, her mom, of course, being former national team level player, provincial player, but is going to be playing in Division I soccer next year in the United States. So we look forward to hearing about her and hope she does well. Unfortunately, it looks like a double dribble, so Glenlaw will get the ball back, but Jazzy Ditter will throw the ball out right away, and we'll get a free throw on the play, defended on the play by number 23 once again from Fort Richmond.
Looks like they're calling a 7-meter here, actually.
Yeah, sorry. Pardon me, not a free throw, a penalty shot. This time the penalty shot be taken by number 2, Abby Dick. And stopped on the play by, again, Alyssa Piero. And she's actually done quite well on the penalty shots today. So it is 10-5. 21.5 minutes left in the second half. And over top of the net with a nice clean shot for Richmond. And that will give Glenlawn the ball back.
That's too bad. I would have liked to have seen her make one more pass on the wing. It was quite open. You know, as a back, you need to be able to see both directions and not just going forward. It's tough to do. As a back, you know, you're trying to see both your defender, what they're doing, who's beside you, but keep moving that ball in proper succession.
Trying to get through on that one was once again Fallon Mitchell, but it's off the Fort Richmond defenders, so Glenlawn will get the ball back in the corner. And they'll be aggressive and put up a shot right away. The ball will come to Quinn Thomas, who will push it up the floor. And they will set up and circle things around. And they, this time Quinn Thomas is out almost to center, Sean, to try and take the defender out of the play. And this time she will go up and blocked on the play. So goalie from Glen will take it and pushes it down the floor to Jazzy Ditter, who's got nothing. So she will try to set something up again.
And you know what, that can be you know, a little frustrating when you're used to being a prominent part of the offense and being taken out right away. And, you know, even when teams recognize that you're a threat, sometimes you just want to be able to do something for your team.
So Glenlawn will set things up. They continue with the 4-2. So Tara Loudon pushes the ball up the floor and then takes a shot, but stopped on the play by Aya Elalegi.
You know, that was great defense by Glenlawn to be able to rush and get back there and get in the way to disrupt that fast break.
So they will keep the ball up 10-5. Circle the ball around, trying to throw the ball inside to Jazzy Ditter, but nothing there, and they will take the ball. And we will get a warning against Glenlawn, number 24, Ala Elalegi.
I believe that was for the reach-in. As you go by, typically when an opposing player is by you or beside, you can't really make contact with them without getting a warning of some sort.
And inside on a nice clean goal is Abby Judge, who will bring Fort Richmond within 4.
They've got to keep up that pressure, you know, force Glenlawn to make some mistakes. And, you know, I did say patience before, but right now might actually be a little bit of, you know, they might need a little bit of urgency and pressure to get back in the game.
So hopefully trying to get themselves within 3. And they'll push the ball down the floor. And it's almost like it's 5-on-5 right now because Quinn Thomas has pulled her defender so far away from everything. And inside and off but nothing there. And right back to the goalie. And my thinking is that this is a penalty shot because of for defending in the crease, but correct me if I'm wrong, Sean.
From my perspective, I don't think it was defending in the crease, but because she had gotten the ball with position, she had a clear shot. Essentially, every 7 meters destroying a clear chance of scoring.
I thought I saw her foot in the crease, but maybe I was wrong. So Quinn Thomas will bring them within 3.
And they got a little bit of fire back in their game. See what they can do.
10, Fort Richmond 7. And Glenlawn will see if they can get themselves a goal here. They haven't really scored in a while.
Fort Richmond has been playing great defense, adapting to that 4-2.
The shot on the attempt on the play by Ali Elalegi again. Handled easily by the goalie Alyssa Piero. So Fort Richmond will try to get within 2. And Tara Loudon will go up and puts it right on Glenlawn's goalie. And will throw it down the floor. but picked off by Quinn Thomas, and Fort Richmond has it back.
Great play.
Not able to handle the ball much on offense, sort of bounced around all over the place, and it comes back to Glenlawn, so they will take over and bring it back down to 4 again, trying to hope they go back up by 4 again.
And you know, that's where you can see a little bit of that urgency starting to turn into a bit of panic. So at that point, you need to just control yourselves, make sure you have possession of that ball, and playing quickly but smart.
Okay, thrown inside, but turnover, giving the ball back to Fort Richmond. So Fort Richmond will cycle the ball around. Try to throw it inside to the pivot, but nothing there. So Tara Loke, So they will call it on the charge, I think, there, Sean.
That they will, yep. You know what, the offensive player needs to make sure that they are at least attempting to go around that person. You can't go through them at that point, though. That's a pretty easy charge, I think, to call.
So Glenlawn will cycle the ball around and try to get something going on this offense, maybe try to get up by 4. Once again, as I said, they haven't actually scored in a little while, so.
And I think FRC's done a great job at taking away some of those big shots. There's really only
up and over top, but saved on the play by Piero.
There's been a couple of big shots, but really they've been sitting back and focusing on those pivot players. They've been double teaming at times and really getting the hands in the face in the way of those passes.
15 minutes left in the second half. Down by 3. Fort Richmond has the ball. Looking to go inside is Tara Loudon, but nothing is there, so defended well. And she will try again. And this time she's going to score. Going underneath.
And that was not an easy shot. That was a contested shot. People kind of draped all over her in that case, and she still got a great shot off.
Oh, but through the hands. Glenlawn comes down and through the hands of the goalie, Alyssa Pereiro.
As a goalie, those ones hurt where you've got that touch on it, did everything you did, and sometimes the bounces just don't go your way.
And I believe that was Fallon Mitchell, pardon me. So Glenlawn will be up by 3 still. And around the corner is Tara Loudon, who tries to, but easily saved by the Glenlawn goalie. But it comes back to Fort Richmond, who will keep trying to make something happen. Held on the play, so Fort Richmond ball. Tara Loudon will go up, but she's held again, so free throw. Tara Loudon trying to jump shot right off the free throw, and defended by the Glenlawn. And again she goes up, but this time over top of the net. So goalie ball.
Right now Glenlawn's doing a good job of actually getting in the way. They're converging on that shooter. And right now FRC's not making them move enough to really get that shot off in a good open space.
Oh, a gap was there for a second for Mitchell, but closed because the ball just wasn't able to handle it well. Defended on the play by Quinn Thomas, but so Glenlawn will get the ball well, but good anticipation. So Glenlawn will cycle the ball around, try to look for something, tries to throw it inside, but picked off by Tara Loudon. And she's going to try and run the floor.
I'm really impressed by the defender in this situation. You see her actually not go anywhere near the ball. She knows where she's going, runs as hard as she can back, plants her feet, and gets the charge call. You don't see that from a lot of young players. That was a great defensive move.
12:22 left in the first half, and over top, but handled by the goalie Pereiro. Shot attempt by number 9, Mitch Smith. Thomas has the ball, but saved on the play by the Glenlawn goalie.
And we're have a
Glenlaw
timeout
will
here.
call the first timeout. Their timeout this half at 11 with 11:53. They're up by 3. So what do you think our Glenlaw coach is calling right now, Sean?
That's a tough call. You know, they've done some great things. They let FRC get back into it a little bit, but you know they've done a great job at minimizing Quinn's contribution here offensively because she is such a threat. They've actually switched to a high lateral defense on both sides. You'll actually see them take out both lateral backs just for the last couple of possessions. Right now, they just need to be aggressive, but not overly aggressive, if that makes sense. You know, so still pushing that ball, anticipating, and you know what? Their big game plan, I think, for Glenlaw is keep pushing the ball. They're a quick team. They have transition. You'll see Jazz Ditter running up the court well ahead of everybody else every time. So it's keeping that head up, pushing the ball, but staying in control.
Making sure that the pass is there, though, because the last couple times that they've thrown the ball down the floor, Fort Richmond knows they're going to try to do that.
100%.
They've covered it quite well. Fort Richmond, they've got to keep attacking. And, you know, Quinn Thomas has been able to actually get open and has been able to make some things happen. They've got to keep pushing that.
100%. You know, and you know, getting some picks maybe going in that center with some of their defenders, creating some space for Quinn to be able to get that big shot of hers out and into the net.
Especially as she comes crossing. There's such an opportunity to pick something and make something happen right up the middle for her.
She comes in with such speed that, you know, combined with her big shot, as long as she's picking corners and not shooting right in and around the goalie's head, will make a big difference. This goalie, you know, doesn't have a lot of holes there to look at, so you know you've got to pick your corners.
Tries to cut to the right. Glenlaw starts to make something happen off a bit of a free throw play there, but Fallon Mitchell over top of the net, so Fort Richmond will come down, try to bring themselves within 2. And they will cycle things around, and Quinn Thomas gets the ball. And once again, on the charge. Good job from the Glenlaw defender, number 5, Jordan Charney.
You'll actually see FRC use a little bit of that pick that I was talking about that I wanted to see was having that pick come all the way up to about 9 or 10 meters. Pick in for Quinn.
Go inside to Alec. Oh, he will get it right underneath.
Great shot.
Down to the defender.
Great shot.
And gives Glenlaw a 4-goal lead with 11 minutes left. Alalagi.
That's been their first goal in the last little while.
It has. So Fort Richmond will try to cycle the ball around. Make something happen. Shot attempt made, but blocked, but right back to Fort Richmond, and Tara Loudon will try to take a shot, and nothing there. Ball goes back to Fort Richmond.
I'm not sure what happened there, but she could have been pushed into the crease a little bit.
Thomas to take a shot now, and she will score.
Wow, there's her first goal.
I believe that's her first goal of the game.
You can see how excited she is about that one. You know, trying to get into the game. Finally gets off a good shot.
So up by 3 with just over 10 minutes left in the second half. And blocked, but over top of the outreach hands of the goalie to give Glenlaw back a 4-goal lead again.
That's too bad. Defender was there, made the tip, made the contact, and just sailed just over the goalie's head.
And you know, sometimes that just changes the timing of what the goalie's anticipating enough that they can't get back quick enough. Oh, through the hands, and I'll tell you, number 10 from Fort Richmond, and that would be Edita Vucevic.
That's a great pass, though. That's what I like to see. Before I mentioned that, you know, you need to be looking laterally as much as looking at the goaling, seeing where your holes are. If you can draw in your defenders between yourself and see that winger make use of them, get a great shot off.
Yeah. So turnover on the play. I think Alalegi was pushing off on the line, so they call a pivot on the push, and that gives Fort Richmond back the ball again, and they're going to try to get within 3. Ball off to Tara Loudon, who'll go to number 11. Looking for a shot, nothing there. So you are right about goalie Aya Elalegi. She's really having a great game, Sean.
Oh, she's always been consistent. Every game that I've seen, she's had her eye on the ball.
Through the hands of the Glen Lawn player, so that will be a turnover for Fort Richmond, who again will try to get themselves within 3.
And this could be a big possession for them. Get back within a couple.
Quinn Thomas is attacking to the side and will throw the ball, but it's blocked by a Glen Lawn player. That should be Fort Richmond ball, and it is.
Something else I'd like to see Quinn do here is when she gets that ball in, everybody knows that she's going to shoot right now. So you draw everybody in and you keep passing along the way, and that should open up somebody on the right side.
So they'll try a bit of a cross. Tara Loudon will shoot and stop in the play by Aya, pardon me.
You know, she is just so tough to get the ball by.
So they cycle it around and try to get something going and into the hands of Fallon Mitchell, who will shoot it over top of the net, and Fort Richmond will get the ball. Glen Lawn continues to cover Quinn Thomas quite closely. Fort Richmond cycles things around, and Tara Loudon will go in, but will be given a free throw. Defended on the play by number 5, Jordan Charney, but held on the shot, so that will give Fort Richmond a penalty shot, and it will be taken by Quinn Thomas. And off the outside of the post. So under 7 minutes left, and Glen Lawn will continue with a 4-goal lead, 13-9. Oh, and over the hands and over the head of the intended player from Glen Lawn.
You know, there's still lots of game left, still lots of time for FRC to claw back into this.
And 4 goals is nothing right now.
We've seen a lot of possessions where there's been a couple of goals back-to-back, play some strong defense, you know, just go one at a time.
And it looks to me like they've got Jazzy Dizzer just moving around the center, trying to make sure that they can't get anything up the middle, which they just did. So 11, Abby Judge gets another goal and brings them within 3.
And that was perfect. You see where she drew in there, both defenders came in looking for that shot, passed it over to the person where he had a much clearer channel to be able to shoot in there. And we've seen this call a few times now. Charge leading with that arm in.
Pushing off. So under 6 minutes left and down by 3, and Fort Richmond will try to get within 2. And Tara Loudon will go, but throws it over top of the net, and she did have a good opportunity for a shot. And this time we will have a 2-minute penalty against Glen Lawn. Number 9 from Glen Lawn, Mitch Smith. So that will be actually the first penalty for the entire game for Glen Lawn.
Well, we'll see how both teams adapt.
Down for 2 minutes, but up by 3 goals with just over 5 minutes left. So I see almost the entire Fort Richmond defense is coming out almost to the 9-meter line.
They're going to clog up that middle as much as they can. Right now they have an extra person to play a lot of help defense.
So shot on the play by Abby Dick, but taken by Piero. So once again, Fort Richmond will try to get within 2. Oh, and again, they're going to call the charge.
Yeah, that's where Quinn's coming in with a lot of speed. They're closing that gap quickly. Glen Lawn's playing that very well. They can see that she's coming in. And on the opposite side, FRC, Quinn just needs to be able to see one more pass over, and she's wide open.
Taken on the play by Tara Loudon. So it will be a free throw, blocked on the play by number 4, Fallon Mitchell, who did a good job of defending there, actually, because otherwise it would have been a clean shot off the net. Looking for a quick one there.
And that was close. A few inches to the right, could have gone in, made this game within 2.
So just under 4 minutes left and still up by 3. Glen Lawn has the ball. and are still down by one, still down one man. Shouldn't be too much longer.
Oh, there's that push off again. Just gets that arm up just a little too high, a little too aggressive.
Tara Loudon looking for something up the middle. And in for a shot is number 23, but blocked into the corner. So great opportunity by Ellie Basili, but taken by the goalie, and Glenlawn will get the ball back, and I believe they're at full strength now. Three minutes left in the second half for the Winnipeg High School Team Handball League Championship. And Glenlawn is up by 3. They will cycle the ball around and try to get something going here. Look inside, nothing there. So thrown inside to the pivot, who will throw it on the net, but right to Jazz Dinner, who will take it and score. They give Glenlawn a 4-goal lead with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left.
That's going to be a big goal for Glenlawn. We've seen the goals dwindle a little bit here in that last bit of the second half. Every goal is very difficult. No team is making it easy for each other to score.
So covering Quinn Thomas close. And once again, another charge against Fort Richmond will give Glenlawn the ball back.
So right now, Glenlawn should be slowing it down, working for that possession, using the clock as much as he can.
So just over 2 minutes left, and Glenlawn up by 4. And they are going to give a penalty shot. Ball thrown inside to Jazzy Dinner, and she was held on the play by Quinn Thomas. So Abby Dick will take the penalty shot. Now, the one thing is the ball is a live ball, and Fort Richmond ready for it. It goes running down the floor. In for the shot. It's number 11, but pushed off this just before the shot will give Fort Richmond the ball back. Minute 30 left. And over top of the net, Tara Loudon off the free throw, and Glenlawn will take the ball. And another timeout called by Glenlawn. Do they get 2?
They get 1 per half.
1 per half.
1 per half. So here I think you're going to see FRC, they're going to step up and they're going to play very close man-on-man at this point. Try to cause a few turnovers in the last minute and 21 seconds. They need a couple of quick goals here to get back in it. They need to make Glenlawn make a few mistakes. And Glenlawn, they need to be patient. You still need to be able to pass the ball, still attack so that you're not causing a passive. But they still need to push to the floor, and still attack as they would regularly. You can't sit too far back in your heels.
And you got to think that Fort Richmond's thinking that it's a minute 21 seconds.
It's not a lot of time really in the scheme of things to get 4 goals back.
It's not a lot of time, so they're going to have to make something happen pretty fast. And it is Glenlawn possession once we come back in. So they're going to need a turnover to make anything happen. Otherwise, they will experience the first loss of the season. So I invite everybody to come back and join us at 7:30 as we will have the Winnipeg High School Team Handball League Boys Championship between Fort Richmond Collegiate again and the Dakota Boys.
So surprisingly, FRC has actually stayed pretty far back.
Yeah, I almost expected a press.
Normally it needs to, look at that, that's a big
Tara
steal.
Loudon takes the ball and she will take it down the floor and score to bring Fort Richmond within 1. And we have a timeout on the play.
Well, they're calling a 2-minute on her.
On who?
On Glenlawn. I didn't catch the number, but you'll often see in a fast break scenario like that, as soon as any player makes contact from behind, it's actually a very dangerous play.
Yeah.
If the person has nobody behind
so they
them.
should make that call.
And that can be argued towards a red, very minimal, a 2-minute very often.
So it will be a very tight defense from Fort Richmond. Looking inside to Jazzy Dinner, who will shoot, and saved on the play by Piero, who will try to push it down the floor with 37 seconds left.
Well, they've got to make a shot right away.
They got to take a shot right away. That's what Quinton into the corner, but through the hands of the intended player, number 10. And
wow,
it will be
that was a big
Glenlawn's
defensive
ball.
play.
And I got to think this is probably it.
We're just coming down to the
bit
final
of a press
seconds.
this time, but
Little too late in that scenario.
turnover to Fort Richmond as Glen Lawn tried to make something happen and turn the ball over, and we give it to Quinn Thomas. And we will finish on a free throw. So ladies and gentlemen, 2019 Winnipeg High School Girls Winnipeg High School League Team Handball Championships are your Glen Lawn Lions. Fort Richmond Centurions will experience their first loss this season, but a team that they played and had a tough game against earlier this year.
I thought they had a really consistent game. Throughout, they were pushing the floor. They were shooting quite a bit. They had a couple of minutes there where they actually let FRC get back in and hold them to just a couple of goals within a handful of minutes.
So a great game on both hands. And I got to tell you, I think the difference in the game, in my opinion, would have been the fact that Glen Lawn worked very hard to take Quinn Thomas out of the game. Such an impact player. We know that. I mean, leading the league, I believe, or second overall scorer in the league with 54 goals this year. To take her out of the game had to have a big impact on the overall score here.
I thought another big point to Glen Lawn's success was actually their goalie. Being taken out a little bit with that face shot early on, but coming back in and sticking with her team, she was outstanding for the rest of the game. She made a lot of key saves that would have put FRC neck and neck with them.
And so I got to say that, in my opinion, that if I was to choose an MVP right now, it would have to be the Glen Lawn goalie.
I would say you have a good argument there, 100%, Brian. There was a lot of great defenders, a lot of, they moved the ball around. There was a few different scorers in this case. But I got to think that, their goalie was one of their biggest contributing factors.
Now, unfortunately, we don't have the stats up here, keeping track of real time, and we would probably get them later. But I think we're going to head down to the floor.
Participated in the league this year. It was really fun to watch. Lots of good talent coming out, and especially since it's everyone's probably first, maybe second year learning the sport. It was really impressive to see everybody developing throughout the season. First things first, we're going to hand out medals to the finalist team. Everybody give a big round of applause to FRC.
So as we can see, as we're watching the Fort Richmond Centurions receive their runner-up medals, the silver medals. And congratulations, of course, to coaches Darren Acorn, Faye Bruce, and Nicola Dirks for having a great season with Fort Richmond.
Yeah, FRC continually develops great handball players. These coaches have been around for quite a while now. They've worked with all their different teams, and you consistently see FRC at the upper parts of the league. I think that says a lot about coaching and what they're teaching these girls.
And now we see the presentation of the gold medals to the Glen Lawn Lions. Congratulations to coaches Presley Cross, Tori McDonald, and Morgan Cross. Did a great job of coaching this team and bringing them into the high school final.
I thought there may have been a couple of standout players, but overall I thought Glen Lawn played very much as a team. There didn't seem to be any weaknesses really on the defense. Everybody was playing very hard, closing those gaps well, and you see that in all the charges that they ended up causing Fort Richmond to take.
And as I said a little while ago, we don't have the stats in front of us, but if I had them in front of me, I gotta, without looking at them, I gotta believe that the scoring was pretty balanced.
Pretty balanced.
Came from almost everybody on the floor.
I thought there was a few spots that they may have had a few more, particularly their big lateral back on the right side. She was shooting very well for a little while. But they did spread that around quite a bit.
And you got to know that when you play a 5-1 defense, you're kind of playing a 5-1 offense, pardon me, by them taking Jazzy Ditter out of the game, that they managed that part of the game well also.
And that's not very easy for a lot of teams to do, to adapt when you're used to that person being the majority of your offense. Maybe not the majority, but sparking both plays for the other people as well as shooting themselves.
So they're just calling the most valuable players.
All right, got one more thing to do before we move on to the boys' game. Have an award to give out to an extremely versatile player.
I believe this is our most valuable player awards.
She's a leader on and off the court and is
Or award, excuse me.
Congratulations, Jazzy Ditter.
So Jazzy Ditter gets the most valuable player award, and that's got to get not just Glenlawn but everybody excited. And congratulations to her.
Well, she was an impact player on the team. You could recognize it right off the hop that she was taken out entirely. Even then, she still got in the mix. You saw her depart quite a bit from the corner. She was outstanding in defending Quinn Taylor on the opposite side. So she made a huge impact in this game.
So congratulations to the Glenlawn Lions, 2019 Girls Winnipeg High School Team Handball League champions. Congratulations to the Fort Richmond Centurions for having a great run into the final and giving Glenlawn a good run for their money.
That was an exciting game. Fort Richmond had just started a couple of more goals up from the start. I think this would have been neck and neck the whole way through, really. But that was an exciting one to watch.
Okay, so on behalf of myself, Brian Cameron, and my colleague here, Sean Ward, we hope that you will join us in a few minutes for the boys Winnipeg High School Team Handball League final between Dakota Collegiate and Fort Richmond. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.